Hi, Grant Writing Peeps. Chuck Etheridge here, just feeling a little bit cosmic, as you can see from the vast universe I am partaking in as well. I want to talk with you about finding funding sources and a little bit about the process we took to find the two funding sources we've got. Now, whenever you're working on a grant, it can take a really long time to find the right funding source for your program. It's taken us a while for this as well, even though we knew at the beginning what our funding source was. And it's taken us 5 weeks. It just did. So I'll talk a little bit about the process, the database that I used, show you kind of what happened, and then show you some characteristics of the two funding sources that we actually hit on, which were the Doherty for Team Green and McNeil for Team Blue, I believe. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And we're just going to start looking at the Foundation Directory Online, which is the database that I use. Now, there are lots of databases that you can use, but the Foundation Directory is the only one that systematically catalogs all the foundations in the world every year. So generally you get the best and most accurate, most comprehensive information from them. You also get a searchable database. It's very helpful. So I start with a real word, or kind of a natural word search. And I say money to build for a new building for the food bank Corpus Christi. And I click search. And I get, money. I got one result, building Corpus Christi food bank. So I got too few. So I did that. I got 3 grant makers. Okay. How about food bank Corpus Christi? The reason I'm laughing is because I did this exact same search about 10 minutes ago, and I got different search, but about that. So we got 76 grant makers, food banks, Corpus Christi, Texas, low-income people. So we could knock out low-income people, see if that changes the results at all. But food banks, Corpus Christi, Texas. It's important to find the search categories they use because they might be different than the ones we use. So food banks, Corpus Christi, Texas, and we search and we still come up with 76 grant makers. So this may seem like a lot, but grant making is largely research. Grant writing is research. And you just got to dig into these and find out if they're a good match. Some of them will be like the Joe Bob Foundation of Illinois. It's not going to be a good match, obviously. And you can find out right away. But what I did initially was I just sort these by amount funded. So I looked for the largest grant givers and started looking with them from there. And I started looking at them, and I know, for example, Coastal Bend Community Foundation, even though you see all the money they give, it's not a good match for this particular project. Because they don't give to the kind of work, which is a capital campaign or a building that we're doing as well. So basically I looked through these and then I consulted with Robert and I generated a list of 10 sources that I thought were good. Now, just because they look right doesn't mean they're necessarily the best fit for your organization. For example, the food bank had a grant request into this foundation, the Moore Foundation, for a completely different program. So you don't want to, you're trying to get them to fund this diabetes program or whatever it was. You don't want to go out and also hit the money that they're building. So for a variety of reasons, a number of these weren't good sources. So Robert said, concentrate on these bottom 4, which is Bank of America, ConAgra, Susser Family Foundation, and the JP Morgan Foundation. Now, Bank of America, I approached, it wasn't a good match in terms of time. They do give to projects like this, but their deadlines didn't fit what we're doing for our grant. ConAgra was a flat no. They don't give for buildings. They don't give for capital campaigns. Susser Family Foundation, there's something going on there with their contact information because the contact information we were given wasn't correct. And then the JP Morgan Chase Foundation was a flat no. They just said, no, we don't fund capital campaigns. We don't fund that kind of work. So first four were a strikeout. And bear in mind that this took a while for me to get the information back from the food bank. It took me a while to hear back from these funding sources. So I ran another search. I went farther down the list. So we can't go for the bigger grants. So we need to look for some smaller grants as well. And I came up with this list as well. And basically through just combination of working with Robert, contacting them, we decided that the Pat McNeil and the James R. Doherty Jr. Foundations were good searches. So when you click on these results on the foundation directory online, they literally give you this. I mean, it's on a web page. And so you want to look at certain things. Do they give what we're doing? So what the food bank does, giving food to people who need it, is called human services. So they fund human services. So do they fund what we're doing? Do we fund where we are, which is Texas? And most of their money goes to Texas. Obviously, you got this dark number, over $1 million in Texas as well. And then dollar amounts. Now, most of their grants are under 5,000. They give up to 25,000. So we approached Doherty. We're going to ask for a grant for like $25,000. That might be disappointing, but $25,000 is a lot of money, and it's certainly money the food bank doesn't have right away as well. So we're going to the Doherty Foundation as well. A little bit more. Do they do what we're doing? And again, human rights, human services. Yes, they give in Texas. They focus on certain populations, economically disadvantaged people and low income people. That's who the food bank serves. It's a nice focus for the Doherty Foundation as well. Support strategies, capital campaigns. Building is a capital or a big expense that has value. So they give to buildings. Remember, that was why a couple people told us no, a couple big foundations told us no, they don't do capital campaigns. Doherty does capital campaigns as well. What do they want? And this should make our stuff getters ready. They want description of the program. They basically were going to do a grant writ small. And remember those kitchen captain grants, those narrative grants that were all like 5 or 6 pages that we read as example grants a couple weeks ago. That's what we're going to do. We're going to write these up. We're going to make nice, easy to use, easy to read documents. And we're going to put them in an envelope and send them to the Doherty Foundation. And you'd be surprised how many grants are still physical submission grants. So detailed description of the project, information about the organization, IRS determination letter. So stuff getters, IRS determination letter, and information about the organization as well. So maybe literature, and you might want to hunt up what's available from the food bank. Maybe that some of the stuff from that PowerPoint that Robert gave us, maybe not everything as well. So all the stuff, and you send them the information as well. One proposal, board meetings, a deadline is March to September 1st. So we're going for September 1st as well. And then literally you mail it into that address in Beeville, Texas. So that's the Doherty. McNeil doesn't have the handy dandy bar charts at the top, but you look at what they give. They give human services in Texas, capital campaigns. That's yes, yes, yes. So they give to what we're doing. They give in Texas. They fund capital campaigns. We don't have the usual dollar amounts as well, but so we're going to have to determine how much we're going to ask for as well. But it's not going to be a huge number because they gave $45,000 last year. I'm going to show you a trick as well, but notice some other things. What they want the grant and the IRS determination letter as well. Giving is primarily in Corpus Christi, which is good. Then again, we have an address in Corpus Christi that we mail it to. So